Bring in show music, please.
Hi, I'm CNBC producer Katie Kramer. Today on Squawk Pod. The world's most valuable company set to report what Nvidia will tell us about the economy, the artificial intelligence boom, the markets.
But there's a renewed sense of anticipation, excitement. I think it matters. I think it's important.
And it's more circular deals, partnering with Microsoft to invest in startup Anthropic.
A little bit of like a vendor financing kind of scenario.
Tech these days, it's not the boom of the past.
We were all happy in 1999. We were all going to party like it's 1999, right?
The Wall Street Journal's Greg Ip on tech revolutions, joyful and joyless.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, and the bubble did burst, but the mood was very upbeat, and I don't feel that now. I mean, I feel that, unless you're like Sam Altman.
Plus, MTV co-founder Tom Freston, the veteran media exec on the music channel's legacy from the 80s all the way to modern social media.
It kind of brought in sort of a new visual vocabulary and style to television, new way of editing and moving things along on a sort of non-linear basis.
And the rest of today's news that got us squawking.
Who started this?
Trump started this.
It's Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. Squawk Pod begins right now.
Stand Andrew by in 3, 2, 1. Cue Andrew.
Good morning. Welcome to Squawk Box right here on CNBC. We're live at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. It is just the boys this morning. I'm Andrew Ross Sorkin along with Joe Kernan. Becky's off today. Now, the Dow and S&P, of course, on 4-day losing streaks. It's the S&P's longest downturn since August. The NASDAQ seeing its fifth negative session now in 6. And big names like Microsoft and Nvidia closing in the red ahead of Nvidia's earnings today. And it feels like everything is going to key off whatever we hear tonight.
It's been a long time.
Been a long time.
No, since we've been doing this a long time. A lot of earnings. How many earnings have we reported on in 35 years?
And you're saying this is the first time you...
No, not the first time. But there's a renewed sense of anticipation, excitement. I think it matters. I think it's important. And we've got an analyst. We've got.
It didn't matter.
It just is. The articles being written today is the market ready to pull back 10% and have a full-fledged correction? If it pulls back 10, you know what people think. Is it going to pull back 20? I don't know. So that's out there. The notion that we might be in some type of extended pullback, and I think this matters tonight.
It matters a lot
for Nvidia. And the whole AI thing is, I need you. You write books, you do all this stuff. I need a flow chart of who's involved with whom, and who's funding what, because now Microsoft, aren't they really tight with OpenAI? But now they're doing stuff with Anthropic. And all the money's going around. Is it the same money? Is it real? Is it new? It all starts with a T? It's
well, so the latest deal with Anthropic, which is fascinating, because first of all, puts them in business with a competitor to OpenAI. But by the way, they had already gotten in. I
figured that out.
You figured that one out.
I did.
They had already gotten involved with xAI, so they have xAI on their platform as well.
Okay.
And the initial thought is they want to be involved with all of these folks, so these folks can pay them fees to use their cloud Azure service. That's the impetus for Microsoft.
Okay, so there's a lot of.
Okay.
They're not even frenemies. They're keeping all their bases covered.
So Microsoft's now keeping all its bases covered. Before it was all in with OpenAI.
And not all the AI. Some are good at coding. Some are good at this. So there could be some.
Could be different approaches.
There could be a lot of survivors.
Anthropic is being used right now by a lot of the coding and enterprises, or businesses like Anthropic. OpenAI, ChatGPT has become sort of the consumer choice for most folks. And then what's happened here in this Anthropic deal, which is a little bit like some of the other deals we've seen with Nvidia and other things, Microsoft is basically making an investment in Anthropic, and Anthropic is then, of course, saying, well, we will now use your services. You with me on where the money goes?
I'm going to ask AI to explain. Who should I use?
I was saying this is still in the vendor, a little bit of like a vendor financing kind of scenario.
No, there's a lot of
except that these guys are going to get a little bit of equity for their vendor financing.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
I think we better. Have you ever seen Eamon I wouldn't say he's a prima donna, but when he's waiting for us to go to him, he gets furious.
The guy has been sleeping in his tuxedo since last night.
He gets absolutely furious.
Business and this morning.
Eamon, in case you didn't realize, business and diplomacy were both on the agenda during a White House meeting between President Trump and Saudi Crown Prince MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. Eamon Javers joins us now with the headlines and a recap of the menu.
Yeah. Good morning, Joe. President Trump welcomed Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the White House with literal open arms on Tuesday, treating him to a South Lawn arrival ceremony with a military band, mounted honor guard, and fighter jet flyover. Then in the East Room last night, the president toasted the de facto Saudi ruler with an elegant dinner and glittering guest list, including Apple's Tim Cook, Tesla's Elon Musk, Nvidia's Jensen Huang, investor Bill Ackman, and global soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, the president said he was officially designating Saudi Arabia a major non-NATO ally of the United States, putting that Arab nation in the same category as Australia, Japan, and South Korea, among others. And in his toast, the president highlighted the major investment deals, he said, the Saudis had committed to.
Saudi Arabia announced that it will invest an incredible $600 billion. That means jobs. It's also good for your companies, but I'm only interested in the jobs for your country. I'm not interested in the profits, but I guess the profits are there too. But $600 billion in the United States. And today I said, any way you can up that? And he said, I am going to up that to $1 trillion. So he's investing $1 trillion into the United States.
Now, the evening marked a return to full diplomatic standing for the Saudi leader, who had become an international pariah for the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi by Saudi agents, a killing the CIA concluded was ordered by bin Salman himself. President Trump disputed that in the Oval Office on Tuesday, arguing that bin Salman knew nothing about the murder. Things happen, President Trump said.
But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that.
Now, today, we're expecting the president to attend the U.S. Saudi Investment Forum at the Kennedy Center and continue to highlight the deep financial ties between the two countries. And guys, they have an all-star list of business executives coming to that Kennedy Center event today, so we'll watch for any news out of that one throughout the day. Back over to you.
Same crew from last night for the most part?
Yeah,
overlap?
yeah. Elon will be there, Jensen will be there, and a lot of the big names, plus a whole bunch of Saudi officials, some oil and gas executives. I mean, it is a star-studded day over at the Kennedy Center. And as I said, we do expect the president to make a trip over there in the Beast and give some remarks as well.
They had all that footage last night, and it looked like Elon was having dinner or talking to, was it Albert Bourla he was sitting with?
It looked like that to me. I couldn't quite tell in the VO that we were able to see. Yes,
that's
he's turned
Albert's
away
Albert's
a little
back
bit there.
His head there, I think. But I was
you recognize the left ear.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
who's between
and I didn't see who that was sitting.
Yeah, in between.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I didn't see who it was sitting exactly next to Elon Musk, but so much drama in that storyline, right? I mean, as Elon Musk had that public falling out with President Trump, accused him of being in the Epstein files earlier this year. The two men were done with each other months ago. Now Elon Musk reappearing at the White House, not necessarily at the president's side, but certainly in the president's good graces or semi-good graces, at least having a seat at the table. So a fascinating moment there, and you see that pat on the arm there from President Trump to Elon Musk.
Right.
A lot of things to talk about. I did a little bit of, I don't like doing things like that, a little bit of background, because it reminded me, Eamon, a lot of eyebrows raised when the president came down on MBS's side about whether he knew about the Khashoggi assassination, which for me harkened back to the president in that interaction with Putin, I think it was about 2016 or 2018, where he sided with Putin on whether Russia had interfered in the election. He later said that he misspoke about that and accepted what the CIA said, but then he said that he just didn't think it influenced the election. So the CIA and other agencies highly confident that MBS either knew or at least approved and even maybe ordered what happened
Right.
to Khashoggi, but no smoking gun. It's pointed out by the Washington Post and others that there's no document that says where he signed the order to have him killed, but the people that did it, based on his control over the kingdom, the involvement of his inner circle, and the way that it operated, the CIA was highly confident that. So what do we glean from that, Sorkin? That money or Eamon? It's the real
look,
world.
I mean, the other thing the president said,
$1 trillion speaks very loudly. I mean, is this the way we do things, or
I think that's
the world is not
conclusion,
black
Joe.
and white.
I mean, $1 trillion is $1 trillion, right?
Right.
And we'll see whether those commitments are real. The president there, saying that he talked bin Salman up from $600 billion. He sort of jawboned him in the Oval Office, talked him up to $1 trillion. We'll see, whether we get details underpinning that. But you go back to the murder.
Yeah, can I just ask a question
and what
about
the
that,
president
by the
said in
way?
the Oval Office yesterday. Sure, go ahead.
Guys, just about the $1 trillion. So,
Some of it's jets. Some of it's
so Saudi's entire GDP on an annual basis is $1 trillion.
right.
Right.
I'm putting this in context.
Well,
So-
he's hoping that it's done during his term. It might not even be done in the next 4 years. So it's.
So are we talking about $100 billion over 10 years?
Who knows?
Are we talking about over 20 years?
He hopes it's this year.
What
He
do we-
hopes it's.
They didn't
can't
put out
be
any
in his
details
term.
on it at
He
all.
hopes it's in his term.
No, I know, but that
finishes
would,
his term.
if in his term
Not
there's
in-
2.5 years left, it means that they would have to give half of their GDP
No,
each year.
I
to
know
the
you
United
wish
States.
it were only 2.5. I think it's more like three years left, isn't it?
3 years. 3 years.
You'd like.
I'm not.
6 months, but.
But I know
Van-
maybe this is over the 7-year period that he's still going to be the president.
No, but
That you're expecting.
But your buddy, Jake, Vance is waiting in the wings. So I know, Gavin will put up a
The
good
only
fight.
point I'm making is if the whole country does $1 trillion a year in business.
You never believe
there-
these numbers. Did you see Besant said it's 20 trillion now?
It seems a stretch.
Besant said, in fact, though, when they asked Besant how much total, because I think I think Trump was saying in the entire Biden presidency it was $1 trillion, and that was $250 billion in the last year, and he's saying it's 20 so far. And when they asked Besant what the number is, he says, well, the president says it's 20 trillion. Scott,
Right.
Treasury Secretary, doesn't exactly. I mean, he says the president says it's 20. He doesn't say it's not 20, but that's the president's number. Is it 20? What have you been adding it up? Eamon, you got a calculator?
I mean, the question is over how many out years, how many of these commitments do
How
you
much
believe?
was already
What the
promised?
president's and what the president's adding up there is sort of the overall economic impact of tariffs in terms of his negotiations and all of the interaction between the United States and these other economies. And you kind of throw up your hands at that point in trying to calculate that. I mean, you could just sort of attribute the entire economic relationship between these countries for decades and say, well, that's the result of tariffs.
All right, Eamon. So it's a real quandary. I mean, we just had the Syrian leader who used to be basically, a terrorist, basically. We deal with China, which, what goes on with the Uyghurs. We deal with Russia, which not that much. But so, I mean, but in his defense, Trump's defense, if it's all about American jobs and making life better for Americans, are you okay with whitewashing what happened in?
Well, my question is slightly different.
Why can't you just answer that? Are you okay with this, or?
I'm not okay with the whitewashing part. What I don't understand is actually you could say exactly what you just said.
Really? That's a first.
No, which is
You're agreeing with that.
which is there's a practical reality,
Yeah.
which is that we want jobs and we think that's good for our economy,
Right.
and we want them to be our allies.
Right.
Is that the question I have is slightly different? Can you thread a needle where you effectively say, I want all of those things, and therefore I'm willing to work with you, and I'm also prepared to condemn what took place
Right.
now 7 years ago?
I mean, if Russia totally.
And I think you probably could. I think that is the thing that I would say is the mistake. If I was going to say there's a mistake here,
Yep.
the mistake is that I think you can hold both ideas in your head at the same time. I don't think you have to actually, quote unquote, whitewash something. I think you could literally just say, look, We put this behind
But
us.
it de facto is.
Well, no. I don't think it has to be.
Well,
I don't think every time you see him,
Okay.
you have to repeat that he did this.
Right.
But when the question is asked to you, you could say, look, the CIA said what it said. This happened 7 years ago. I care deeply about American jobs, and that's where my focus is right now.
Yep.
You know, I condemn the
me ask
killing
you
of
that.
anybody for free speech or other purposes, and I'm going to leave it there. And I'm not. I think it's different to turn the thing and say this didn't happen.
Okay, how about this? Just one more, and then we're going to go. Lowe's
Okay,
results
here we
are
go.
out. The sanctions work on Russia. He stops. We get some type of, you keep this, we keep that. Do we ever have full diplomatic relations with Russia again after the atrocities that were with Putin?
I don't know what full diplomatic relations mean.
Do we? How could you ever, not forgive and forget, but how do you ever
probably-
have normal relations
That
with?
one's a hard.
How do you
one
ever
to get
do
to.
that with Russia at this point?
You probably never get fully.
No,
there.
we would. In the real world, we would. Probably, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, that would be, I think,
not to say
much
that we
more
should. But
complicated relationship.
look we're great friends with Vietnam, which isn't this crazy, right?
Yeah, but there's a different leader.
No, I know. It's a different. I know. But maybe we should be talking Putin, not necessarily Russia. Could
Right.
we
I think
ever-
we're. Yes.
Okay.
Do I think
You're
we
right.
could have relations with Russia? Sure. Do I think we can have relations with Putin as long as he's running the country in that way? I
Right.
think it would be hard to do it in the same way.
What about this? We haven't talked about this. Or was this Lena Khan, or who started this? Meta.
Trump started this. No. Let's
Yeah.
let's put
Back
this
in
whole thing
in
on the
first
table.
Administration.
This was a Trump case originally.
He's come around on tech.
Hold on. Well, it was a Trump case originally.
Okay.
Then taken on by Lena Khan.
Okay.
Then retaken on by Trump.
Okay.
Okay.
Who did he not like? Someone made him
And
mad.
guess who undid this? An Obama-appointed judge, my friend.
No kidding.
So
Amazing.
take that to the bank.
Amazing. The Texas judge that did the gerrymandering was a Trump appointee of those three. Meta winning a high-profile and long-running antitrust case against the Federal Trade Commission. The government had accused the company of holding a monopoly in social networking. The case was filed 5 years ago. 5 years, yeah, okay. And focused on Meta's acquisition of Instagram and WhatsApp. What was I going to say? But Mark Zuckerberg has courted some favor, right? Does that help?
I don't think that helped with this.
Not
It was
this,
an
but it helped with. Right, but it helped
Obama-appointed
with.
judge.
Right.
We have some news we got to get to because this is just crossing. A statement now from Larry Summers. In line with my announcement to step away from my public commitments, I have also now decided to resign from the board of OpenAI. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served, excited about the potential of the company, and look forward to following their progress. Of course, Larry Summers has been involved and came out in some of these emails. I think we've known for quite some time that he was involved in some way with Jeffrey Epstein. More of the details became apparent as these files have emerged.
I looked into him yesterday.
Some of them are
How do I get horizontal with? And he's married at the time, and Epstein said it was pretty funny. Said, Larry, your chances of getting horizontal with this woman are zero.
He interestingly, joined the board of OpenAI after what was
2018. He was.
No, I understand that. He joined. I just wanted to talk about the implications for OpenAI because what happened at OpenAI, as you know, was there was an insurrection, if you remember.
A what?
An insurrection.
Oh, okay.
Its own insurrection, similar to the one that happened on your birthday in Washington. But there was an insurrection on the board, if you recall, where they tried to push Sam Altman out and all the other board members then left. As part of that, they were looking at the time for somebody that they thought could be sort of a Switzerland kind of individual who had great ethics and was seen as sort of a.
They thought Larry was neutral.
And and so they brought Larry Summers in.
That's
Look,
funny.
Larry Summers, whatever you think of this,
I've watched him for a long.
is
look,
brilliant. Obviously, you can hold two ideas
But
in your
he was
mind.
very
He was
par-
brilliant with terrible personal
He's
judgment.
extremely
clearly.
partisan and not neutral. I've seen him speak many times. I've seen him speak in private.
Sure, I mean he was a Democrat,
and all of his opinions were informed.
But when I say,
and he was wrong most of the time about a lot.
I don't know about that, but
well,
first of all, if you recall, you were quoting him left and right when he was criticizing Janet Yellen.
Now you're saying that I was. Republicans were.
Yeah.
Don't just.
And you thought
get mad when I do that to you.
You thought he was right.
You get mad when I do that.
You thought he was right.
I also thought he was right when he said that, talked about the Fed and criticized the Fed.
Right. So my only point is
you channel Marjorie Taylor Greene now. So don't.
The point I was trying to make is he was seen as somebody who could step into this role in what was a chaotic situation at OpenAI and help settle things down. And of course, now he has roiled that himself with his own personal problems. And now, of course, they're going to have to find somebody else to join that board.
He's still going to teach at Harvard. And the person that was talking yesterday was saying there's no way you can stay. She was with the legal.
Look, I think there's a real question. And I think right now there's a lot going on behind the scenes from what I understand in terms of reporting about whether that's going to continue or not.
Up next on Squawk Pod, what the Wall Street Journal's Greg Ip calls a joyless revolution in artificial intelligence, especially compared to the dot-com bubble of the 90s.
You just don't see that kind of optimism. It feels more like resignation, anxiety, and from some people I've even heard dread about what AI means for them, for society.
Public suspicion of technology and the AI companies pushing it forward anyway, right after this break. Welcome back to Squawk Pod.
You're watching Squawk Box on CNBC. I'm Joe Kerner along with Andrew Ross Sorkin. Becky is off today. Several recent deals, including yesterday's news that Nvidia and Microsoft will pour $15 billion into Anthropic, renewing concerns of an AI bubble. Join us now, Greg Ip, Deputy Economics Editor and Chief Economics Commentator for the Wall Street Journal. The title of his latest piece, The Most Joyless Tech Revolution Ever. AI is making us rich and unhappy. I'm always happy, Greg, when I wake up and everything and feel okay. But I guess I kind of get what you're saying, but I'm not sure it's a bad thing, because we were all happy in 1999. We were all going to party like it's 1999, right? Maybe this skepticism that we have now is actually the wall of worry that allows us to not be like 1999 because we're unhappy about it or skeptical.
Well, I don't know about that, Joe. I mean, notwithstanding the unhappiness among the general public, it doesn't seem to be bothering Wall Street. I don't see any wall of worry there. But let's go back to the 90s, because, I mean, I covered that period, as a journalist in the finance section at the Wall Street Journal. And I feel a real difference in just the overall atmosphere between then and now. I mean, that period was it was really kind of exciting and crazy, right? I mean, remember the sock puppet and the tow truck driver who got rich and bought his own island by trading internet stocks? There was sort of a playfulness to that whole era, and they were like, everybody was quitting their day job to go start a dot-com. It was kind of crazy, and the bubble did burst, but the mood was very upbeat, and I don't feel that now. I mean, I feel that, unless you're like Sam Altman, or Satya Nadella, I just feel, or you just don't see that kind of optimism. It feels more like resignation, anxiety, and from some people I've even heard dread about what AI means for them, for society, and for the availability of jobs.
Are you sure that doesn't mean we're in the early innings of this, and that what you're talking about finally happens? But if you're early, it's got a long way to go, maybe.
Sure. So it's just like 1995 or is it 2000 on dot-com equivalent, right? I think that's what you're sort of asking. Look, I mean, one thing we know from history is that as people get more used to a technology, they become more comfortable with it. So kind of, in the early days of internet and email, people worried about loss of privacy and so on, but they eventually got used to it, and that did not stop the rollout. But again, I would be hesitant to draw parallels between past technologies and this technology. I looked at a survey from 1995. Are you comfortable or uncomfortable with the internet? 2-to-1, people were comfortable. Then I looked at a survey that you at CNBC did in the summer, exact opposite with AI, 2-to-1, uncomfortable. And I also think, Joe, this has something to do with the overall sort of bad mood the country has, not just about AI, but in general, right? I mean, Trump is very frustrated that he's got low approval ratings on the economy, even though he thinks he's doing a lot for it, which is a lot of what it's similar to what Joe Biden was going through in the last year of his presidency. And I think it's because there are so many things that are weighing down on people right now. It's like the cost of living. Under Joe Biden, it was the border. And I think now that AI is kind of like going in with that mixture too. So if you're asking the question, why is there a disconnect between numbers that say the economy is good, but people's moods are so lousy? I think that AI is a piece of that story.
It might be social media puts everyone in a bad mood because it's poisonous. And we just had a government shutdown. And you see the political rhetoric, because of the social media on both sides of the aisle, is so cancerous at this point that everybody is in a bad mood. I'm not sure it's because of AI. It just might be the current political mood of the country, which you just alluded to. But I think it's all flamed. The flames are fanned by what the anonymous social media just nastiness that has everyone sort of aware of it, and then it gets amplified in the regular media.
Sure, I mean that's one part of it. I was going to say, but you had Greg Pinto from J.P. Morgan yesterday saying he thinks there's a correction. You got John Waldron this morning from Goldman Sachs saying he thinks
in AI.
No, he thinks
in the stock market.
They're all talking about a potential broader correction in the market, in the stock market, and what that ultimately portends for the economy or what it says about the real economy, Greg.
Greg, you just said there's no wall of worry. I think it's the most hated market rally in history that we're in right now.
Well, I mean, you could be right. But let's ask the following question. Leave aside whether it's a bubble or not. So the S&P is up, 15% this year? People's 401ks are doing great. Like the average American household is financially, on paper, doing quite well. So why are moods so lousy? So I would argue that one reason why is that the people that are benefiting from this technology, the AI, either because they use it, mostly because it's in their 401k, are not the same people worrying about their lots of jobs. So like let's say if you're in your 50s and your kids are just coming out of college, you probably have a 401k, you're probably looking at retirement in 5 to 10 years, but you're worried about your kids. Are they going to have a job? I spoke to some people for this column, right? They work in finance, they work in other areas. They don't know where the career paths are, where the promotions are, because all they hear all day long is that those jobs, those careers are going to be done by AI. I mean, wouldn't you be kind of like anxious?
I don't know whether it's AI or just overall, Greg, but it's a good point. But we're happy here, and yeah, I think you're basically happy, aren't you?
If you're a young person and you can't get a job, and what I can't figure out, Greg, is what we're talking about. Are we ultimately talking in the next couple of years about what Dario Modi from Anthropic has talked about, which is we could be, upwards of 10% unemployment more? Are we talking about 20% unemployment?
From AI.
From AI. Are we talking about going back to, I wrote about it, 1932, 25% unemployment in this country? Is that where this is going? And if that's the case, we keep talking about this prospect, something, there's going to be this step change. If there is a step change, it's going to require a complete rethink and shift about our entire society in so many ways. And I know people talk about it as a sort of theoretical idea, but are we seeing the first breadcrumbs of it?
So I don't know whether it's going to be a zero unemployment rate impact, a 10-point or a 20-point. But I'll tell you the one thing, Andrew. I mean, can you think of another technology that you talked about on this show in the last 20 or 30 years, where one of the key proponents of that technology, somebody like a Dario Modi, came on and basically predicted that millions of people are going to lose their jobs and their livelihoods because of his technology? I don't think so. So don't you think it's kind of telling that the very people who are promoting and spreading and developing this technology and are like the ones that we're all listening to are describing this like dystopian future? Now, if I were a betting man, I would say it's probably not going to be as sweeping as Dario says. Look, the guy is at the center of it. Most people who are involved in promoting this technology, of course, they're bullish about it, right? But we do know that the run rates of revenue from these companies, they're growing fast, but they're nothing like what you would expect to see if, in fact, every middle management job is going to be replaced next year. So I personally think that people's fears are a little bit out of place here. But I would also say the AI industry would be foolish not to sort of take on board the kind of suspicion and mistrust there is out there. I mean, I looked at polling data that showed that when people were asked about various industries, do you want more regulation or less regulation? It was AI really stood out. People had a very low trust of AI and a desire for more regulation that was very different from banking, healthcare, or utilities and energy. And I think that's a warning signal and something that the industry has to think about, because they can't be indifferent to how the public feels about this.
Greg, want to thank you, as always, for your smart analysis of everything, and we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon.
Tease will be next.
Coming up on Squawk Pod.
I want my MTV. I want my MTV back.
Former Viacom CEO and co-founder of MTV, Tom Freston. Video killed the radio star, and then a changing business killed music television. This veteran tells us where it all goes from here.
When I was there, everything was sort of ascendant. Now it's, you got a shrinking business. It's more difficult. People are contracting. They want costs reduced.
You're listening to Squawk Pod from CNBC. Here's Andrew Ross Sorkin.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. I'm excited for this one. The media landscape is now in constant change, of course, with mergers, acquisitions, and spin-offs. But we're going to talk about maybe going back in the past, and maybe we'll talk about the future as well. Tom Freston, he is the co-founder of MTV, former CEO of Viacom. He's got a new book out. It is called Unplugged, folks. Adventures from MTV to Timbuktu. It is available today. I want my MTV. I want my MTV back, Tom.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people do. Maybe it's going to come back. Who knows? They've got new owners now.
They do have new owners. We'll talk about that in a moment. But go back in time, because I think the history of MTV, I mean, so much of what is on TV today, and I would even argue what's happened on social media, started with you and started with MTV.
Well, it kind of brought in sort of a new visual vocabulary and style to television, a new way of editing and moving things along on a sort of nonlinear basis. Yeah.
And the song, I Want My MTV.
Oh, my God. That song was a gift to us. First of all, it was a takedown of MTV. It was really called Money for Nothing. Look at those yo-yos, get chicks for free. And what was the thing at Dire Straits, it was a worldwide hit. So when I would travel to India or, anywhere in Asia or Africa or Europe, they knew MTV from that song. They had already heard of MTV, and that song was like an advertisement for it. So it made our life much easier.
How do you feel about Paramount today and what's happened to MTV?
Well, what's happened to MTV in the last 10 years or so is really terrible. I mean, they ripped the name music television off the bottom of the logo. They all the music people there sort of left. They haven't put any money into it. It became sort of a repository for B-grade reality shows. There was no music on music television. So let's just take music off. So
I used to watch The Real World, love The Real World.
Dwindling. Well, there was a certain amount of non-music programming was good, but then to totally eliminate music was something else, except they would do the music video awards once a year.
Do you think it could have been transformed? I mean, you left before it had the opportunity.
I think it could have. Well, we had a series of issues. I mean, first of all, we had issues with the record companies. They didn't want to license music videos to us to use on the internet.
Right.
So they didn't want to create another MTV on the internet. So YouTube and Vivo kind of emerged. I do believe there's a way MTV could be reimagined now in this era, but that's sort of up to the Ellisons, to David Ellison and Jeff Shell. I mean, I had a meeting with them. They were during their due diligence phase.
Yeah.
They had a dinner for me and Judy McGrath and Doug Herzog and Van. They just wanted to know what was it like in the old days. I mean, what was the
So what did you advise them about what you could do to it today?
I advised them because they also said, boy, we're losing money. Nobody's watching. The average age of MTV viewers is like 53.
Right.
Our advice was, get a lot of 20-year-olds who were kind of like up to speed, who are music fanatics, put them in a room, put them away for a couple of weeks and see what they can come up with. With someone like Rick Rubin or someone who's a real kind of good musicologist, and see if you could reinvent it for this digital world.
You've seen now so many different cycles in media, and now the advent of streaming and everything else. Do you think that all this you also went through consolidation? Paramount was split up, it was put back together. Now there's conversations about whether you could, Time Warner Discovery should be part of that, and all the rest. How do you look at it now, and what do you think it looks like in the future?
Well, it looks like there's going to be more consolidation. That's sort of the theme. I mean, it seems inevitable that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be taken up by Paramount or by Brian Roberts and Comcast. I mean, so there's going to be another, and really Warner Brothers is sort of like the premier movie studio with the greatest halo around it in Hollywood. It's going to be absorbed by somebody else. And that's going to mean people are going to lose jobs. And I hate it when creative companies kind of get all merged together. I mean, we saw it with Fox and Disney. And
So I got a hard one for you, because you've run media companies for a long time. And I wonder, how much do you think the quality of the management of these media companies matters to attracting talent and being able to create great programming versus just being able to write a big check? And the reason I say this is, Netflix came out of nowhere. How did they come out of nowhere? They came out of nowhere by writing and possibly even overpaying for great programming. Apple was never in this business. They write big checks. They get lots of great programming. Most of the money seems to accrue to the creatives. By the way, I'm in the creative business, so that's great. But as a business, I wonder what you think of the media business.
Well, I think you're right. It's hard to resist a big check. And Netflix went a big way on a big check. But if you also look at how they've staffed themselves since, and they've been more reliant on creating programming and attracting talent, they've hired a cadre of executives who are more talent friendly than it used to be. These aren't just like, bean counters or tech guys. These are people kind of from the Hollywood establishment who've migrated over there and are integrated into these companies now. So they resemble more like the Hollywood companies of yore, not perfectly, but having someone that's a talent magnet or talent friendly and having that reputation is a big advantage. That was sort of the nucleus of what we had at MTV Networks back in the day. We wanted to be, seen as a creative first company.
It feels like a lot of money, though, is now moving away from even what might be described as traditional programming or news programming or other things to sports. That sports is, if you were running one of these networks, is that what you would be doing?
Well, I wouldn't be. I mean, I'm not a sports nut. I don't know it. But, I mean, sports soaks up a lot of money.
Right.
And it's amazing to me the fees that the NFL and what people get, because that's like your anchor. And you can, if you have a big sports deal, it's everything else is sort of trimming. Like that's the turkey, and
Right.
you try and fill in with movies and series. But
You've been involved in the news business, too. What do you think about the news business?
people like news, but there's a lot of places to get it. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the news networks. And look, if you have news and sports, and you still have if you're a linear network like CNBC,
right,
you're still sort of a must carry. I mean, you've got stuff that's exclusive, and it's
this exclusive interview right here with Freston, so it's big.
So I mean, CNBC's in a good spot. You sort of own the finance position on the television landscape, and you're hard to dislodge. You're like sort of Google in a way in your own little area. Who else is going to take away what you've got?
Can you expound on that a little bit? Can you just keep talking?
You want to stay for the rest of the hour?
Just get some more detail and color to how great.
Hear that? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You guys are an important part of the puzzle.
They don't watch it. But I want to. No, they watch it. Yeah.
But when you go back and think about your career, and like the biggest lesson of this, I mean, there's so many fabulous stories in this book about everything that's gone on. If you were to go back and start your career all over again today, would you do it in the media business?
Yeah, I would. I mean, because I'm drawn naturally to, the entertainment form. I mean, you want to work with something you love. I mean, there's not a lot of other things I like this much. You can still make a living in this business. I mean, the situation has certainly changed, but I'd be attracted to start all over again, although it's a lot more complicated. Sometimes I bless myself for not being in it these days and having to deal with, when I was there, everything was sort of ascendant.
Right.
Now it's, you got a shrinking business. It's more difficult. People are contracting. They want costs reduced. And people are walking out of buildings with banker boxes full of stuff, getting laid off.
Who is the best manager executive that you think you worked with, or even didn't work with, but saw during this period? And I ask because we oftentimes think about the great CEOs in America, but oftentimes you just, I think, alluding to it, there's a period of time in certain industries where you got the wind at your back. And then there's other times where a complete industry has the wind at its front. And how we sort of index the quality of the CEO in the middle of that against sort of the wind at your back versus the wind at your front kind of thinking.
Well, I could cite a couple of people. One would be Bob Iger, who's been able to be there in the ascendant in complicated days, and he made some of the right bets, as the digital companies were beginning to take down the legacy media companies. He doubled down and bought all these content companies like Lucasfilm and Pixar and so forth, launched Disney Plus. I go back a bit and I look at like the old duo of Bob Daly and Terry Semel, who had probably the greatest run in the history of Hollywood when they were running Warner Brothers. I mean, they had steel trap minds for business. Bob always used to tell me, remember, it's show business. Don't forget that second word. Right. Very important. And they were still able to, they were sort of the masters of the day, the glory days of Hollywood.
So you call CNBC linear. I guess we're still linear. We're cable.
We're also got a big digital presence.
Right, and we're cable, obviously, and now we're getting spun off. And does it matter whether we're streaming cable, whatever we are? Does the content stay valuable?
Yeah, I think if your content stays as strong as it is, and you have this leadership position, I don't know how many. I don't know your numbers where people are. You probably have a big digital presence. Probably accumulate a lot of, because you're on all day long.
If you were running Versant, would you be a buyer of things that are like CNBC?
That's a good question, because you're lumped in with a lot of other linear channels that may not have the same exclusive amount of content or the aptitude that you guys have. I mean, you've got quite a portfolio of other channels that are probably not going to do really well.
But there's going to be a lot available. I mean,
a lot of.
Well, we know what people are interested in at Warner Brothers, and they're not necessarily interested in all the cable networks. They're interested in a few, so there's going to be a lot around that's got to get together with someone. You would think. And then does that stay cable? Does it switch to stream? I mean, I don't know what the...
People are probably going to forget the word cable after a while. Everything's going to somehow, be streamed. I don't know what happens in particular with your network, but...
Do you think it all... I know we got to run. Do you think it all just gets rebundled, though, in the end?
Yeah.
I mean...
Which reminds you of that old Who song, Meet the New Boss, same as the old boss. Everything's bundled together, and it's costing you this huge amount of money all over again. It used to be, Netflix was like, $10. You could drop everything and just have Netflix, but now it's, you got to have...
I think that ends with we won't get fooled again, which is not great, right?
We're going to get fooled again.
It's going to happen anyway, that's right.
Tom Freston, I want to thank you for coming in. The book is called Unplugged. We want to do, by the way, a streaming show, just so you know. We could actually call it either Unplugged or The Real World during the commercial breaks.
On the break.
On the break. Would you want to come in and be part of that?
You mean, is it going to be a regular series?
We're thinking it should be daily. That we should have a separate stream that goes on during the commercial breaks of the show. We're on TV right now, by the way, just so you know.
We are.
We are.
Yeah.
Okay. We're still on.
We never really say what we mean on TV. So what really happens on the break is even more...
It's even crazier.
That's a good idea.
You think?
Well,
but we're also worried about getting canceled.
I think you guys are throwing around a lot of inside financial information.
Oh, no, we're throwing around stuff that's on page 6. This is what
I was going to show you, and I said, no, I'm not going to.
Don't do that.
I have a description of Jeffrey Epstein.
You know what? I think we should hold that. You should hold that idea.
For part of the
streaming show.
On the break?
Yeah,
okay.
All right. I would like to prevent your cancellation
at
this moment, at least for
I'll show
for
Tom
the next 5
when we go to
minutes.
break.
Yeah, before we get canceled, how about calling it for today? Thank you for listening to Squawk Pod. Squawk Box is hosted by Joe Kernan, Becky Quick, and Andrew Ross Sorkin. Tune in weekday mornings on CNBC at 6 Eastern. Get the best of our TV show right into your ears when you follow Squawk Pod wherever you like to get your podcasts. We'll meet you right back here tomorrow.
We are clear. Thanks, guys.